Hello everyone, VonRed1 here, and this video is going to be a technical review of Gemini Man, which I was fortunate enough to see in the native 120 frames per second, since I'm close to one of the only 14 theaters in the nation that is capable of displaying the film at that frame rate. So the Dolby Cinema version of this film was displayed at 2K with 120 FPS at 3D. So this is just going to be a review of how it was with that aspect, not the film itself. I may do a small review at the very end. So this will be a quick video because I just tried to record this and my mic was all staticky. So we're going to try this again. So the biggest difference between this film and others is that it's shot at 5 times the frame rate. Now, as an avid PC gamer with a 144Hz display, I have comfortable time spent with these high frame rates. I always try to aim for 80 plus, but I have a 2070, so I usually get 100 plus on most games. So being used to that in games, I've always said, oh, I wish movies were shot at higher frame rates. 48 frames per second is okay, but honestly, it's not a big jump, and it ends up being just kind of distractingly half-baked. When it comes to 60, I was excited for this film when I discovered it was shot natively at 120. I was like, oh, okay, this should look amazing regardless of how I see it. And if you're not near one of the 14 theaters, don't worry, because 3D showings in most theaters across the nation will display it in 60, so you can still get that unique experience. So we go into the theater, the first few logos are only about 24 frames, which is the usual. Then we get a logo that is moving at 120, and it's immediately noticeable. We go right into the film, and from there on, it's just, yeah, this should be the future of how film is shown, because the high frame rate makes everything look so much more natural and lifelike. People like to say that the lower frame rates give things a more dreamlike state. Well, to be honest, not everything needs that dreamlike state. Unless you're in a fantasy world, I don't believe dreamlike state should even be a goal. So the first example of where the frame rate was really impressing me, aside from the logo, was just a simple scene where Will Smith's character was talking to another person. They're just sitting down talking, the camera was going back and forth between faces, and in combination with the 3D and the high frame rate, it feels like you're in the same room, just standing right in front of Will Smith while he's talking. It is almost unbelievable how lifelike the scene was, and that's in due because of the frame rate, the 3D, and the high resolution. So it looked realistic regardless, but with the high frame rate, it just took it into that next level of immersive. Then we have a scene a little later on. There's a fly on the left side of the screen. I actually swatted my hand because I thought it was a legit fly in the movie theater. Nope. That was all the movie, because there was another one on the right side a second later. When I realized that, that's when I knew for a fact that this is the next level of immersion for cinema. The fact that it was convincing enough for me to legit move my hand up and swat. That was just, no other experience has done that to me. The closest I've come to that is the Spider-Man ride at Islands of Adventure. Since they've gone and updated it to 4K, the part where Doc Ock comes out and the bricks fly in your face, I'll blink at that part sometimes when I see it. But to go on in full SWAT, I legit thought a fly was in the theater in front of me. That's how immersive it was because of the frame rate and the resolution. And then we go into the action scenes, and because of the high frame rate, the action scenes are way more intense, way more personal. You can see everything that's happening. There's a part where Will Smith gets flown off the bike and rolls. And in that high frame rate, oh my god, it looked so realistic. And I know that had to be CG or a stunt double, but it looked so real. And then there was an action scene near the end, and oh my god, there's a slow-mo part of it. It is the most immersive. My heart rate was actually jumping up at that part. Not from motion sickness, from immersion, because I felt like I was actually there with the 3D. The only thing that was missing would be like heat simulators and like water simulators being thrown in your direction. If that was there, you could convince people they were legit in the experience. It was truly next level. And then as far as the 120 frames goes for the other scenes. Some people are easily susceptible to motion sickness. I was with someone that is, and I mean, they get it from, if you're driving just a little bit different than how they will, they'll get motion sick. They said only one scene bothered them, and it was at the very beginning. And I know what scene it was because, yeah, it was like a fisheye lens effect, and that with the high frame rate, yeah, I could see that being a little nausea-inducing. But that was the only scene that they said bothered them. And the fact that they said that, when I know how susceptible to motion sickness they are, that lets me know right now that 60 frames and up will eliminate that sickness feeling, at least for the way this film was shot. If something is like first person that's shot 60 frames, yeah, people will get motion sickness from that. There's a few scenes in here where it goes to a first person perspective or a behind the shoulder perspective, and I can see some people getting sick from that. But even they didn't, which that's impressive. There's a part that's first person though, and I was like, ooh, that. The downside with this high frame rate is that camera shake is much more painful for 120. Like I've noticed that immediately from just this one viewing. Camera shake and 120 will not mix. So like anyone trying to shoot at a high frame rate, do not implement camera shake. It makes the thing that looks nauseous-inducing. I'm surprised they didn't get it from there. I'm surprised I didn't, because in my mind I'm like, ooh, I could get sick if that keeps going on, but I never did. So luckily, I think they were smart enough to know to not make that scene last too long, which was smart on Ang Lee's part or whoever was in charge of the cinematography. As far as the negatives of the frame rate, that might be the only one. That camera shake is a no-no when you get to that high of a frame rate. The 3D in combination with it was truly game-changing. I can't say anything else. It was just that next level, that incredible, that impressive. I can't think of anything else to really say. I would definitely recommend experiencing it, even if you're not near one of the 14 theaters. Every theater in the country, or at least most of them, are able to display this in 3D at 60 frames. So definitely go and check that out at least, because 120 is definitely a luxury, not a necessity. 24 is still like the bare line. I doubt we're going to leave that anytime soon. But 60 is definitely the wave. I hope that, even though this movie looks like it flopped, which is unfortunate, I hope that at least future filmmakers were able to see this in a high frame rate format. I hope they were motivated for their future films to be in a higher frame rate, because 24 is the standard. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon, but I hope future filmmakers realize, yeah, that's a relic of the past. It works, but so does 60, and 60 can work arguably much better in most situations. Is it expensive and more memory constraintive? Yes, absolutely. Like, with going to 60 from 24, they're like making 2.5 times more data just to hold the movie. So like, it's definitely going to be more costly and more work, but honestly, this movie, the way it looked, I don't know how long it took them to make it. It was worth it. However long it took them to make this, it was worth it. I am picking up this 4K Blu-ray day one when it comes out. I know it'll probably just be limited to 60 frames on the 4K Blu-ray, but even still, 60, like I said, is good enough. Like, when you go above 60, that's entering into luxury territory. You don't need it. And of course, with movies, 24 is still like the baseline. So I definitely recommend seeing it, if not in one of the 14 theaters, at least in 3D at 60. And as far as the movie itself, I'll do a quick review real quick. I give it a 6.5 to a 7. It was okay, average to good. The acting was great, especially from the main three characters. Will Smith did a good job portraying both versions of himself. They were both different enough to where you could tell he was acting in very specific ways for each one. The cinematography was good. I'm not just saying that because of the frame rate. Like, there were some cool shots, some really good action scenes. The action scenes in this movie are actually like the star of the show. Like, that, there's action in here that you didn't expect going in. Like, there are some really cool shots, especially the one at the end. And there's like a fight at the end that was just really fun. And then, of course, with the frame rate, my pulse was higher and my heart rate was elevated because of the frame rate. I felt like I was actually there and the 3D. But even without all that, the action is very good. And the only flaw with this film, the reason why I give it a 6.5 to a 7, is that the plot is paper thin. It's very predictable. You can tell what's going to happen easily. You can predict it so easily. Like, oh, is that them? Oh, it is. Oh, is this going to happen? Oh, yeah. Oh, is this the end? This is how it's going to end? Okay, cool, yeah. It's very predictable. The plot was very paper thin, especially from the trailers. From the trailers, you think, oh, this is going to be some kind of like mental mind film or something with some cool action. They don't really go into that mental stuff. They like say, oh, this is wrong, and then that's it. Like, that's as far as they get, as far as like the mental stipulations. Now, of course, there's depth with the character as far as his conscience, and I won't spoil it, but like they go into that. So I appreciate that they give the character like a conscience, and they give him a sense of humanity that is glorified, which rightfully so, compared to what the antagonist wants to do. So like it gets there, but like it's not as deep as you think for how the trailers portrayed it. This is really just a top-notch action film that like dances on the edge of being a mental thriller, but it's an action thriller, if anything, an action flick, not even a thriller. So I'd recommend seeing it, even if you don't go for all the bells and whistles. If you just want to watch this in 2D at the 24 frame standard, you're still gonna have a good popcorn flick to waste time at. But I have to once again recommend seeing it in at least 3D at 60 frames, because even at 60, it should still look breathtaking. It should still look unique. It should still be one of the most immersive times you have in any movie theater for the foreseeable future. Especially since Avatar 2 is apparently gonna stick with 48 frames. James Cameron, if you see this video or my tweet, please consider bumping it up to 60 again, because 48 is not going to help it be as immersive as 60 will. 60 will make us feel like we are literally stepping on Pandora. So please consider 60 again. But that's it for my video. Thanks for watching. If you did, let me know what you think of the film down below in the comments, and that can be like the film itself, the technical aspects being the frame rate and the 3D, or how young Will Smith looked. Let me know all that down below in the comments, and I'm out of here. Thanks for watching.